There comes a point in every person's life when being nice stops working, when your patience is mistaken for weakness, when your silence makes others believe you have no power. That's the moment Machiavelli warned about, the moment you must become cold. Because the truth is brutal. People don't truly respect what they understand. They respect what they can't predict. They fear what they can't control. And in that tension between respect and fear lies the cold strategy that separates the rulers from the ruled. This is not about cruelty. It's about control. The power to stay centered when the world tries to shake you. The discipline to choose silence when others beg for your reaction. Today, we uncover Machiavelli's cold strategy, the psychological code that makes you respected, feared, and untouchable. Lesson 1. Never let emotion be the first to speak. Machiavelli once wrote, "A wise man does at once what a fool does finally. The fool reacts. The wise man waits." In moments of conflict, the average person becomes predictable. They speak too soon, reveal too much, defend themselves before anyone even attacks. But the powerful? They understand that emotion is the leash others use to lead you. So they stay silent. They let the other person reveal their cards, their anger, their weakness, their insecurity. Then they move, calmly, precisely, and always last. When you master silence, you master people. When you stop explaining yourself, you start commanding respect. Affirmation. I don't react. I calculate. My calm is my weapon. Lesson 2. Respect is born from distance, not closeness. People admire what they cannot easily access. The moment you become too available, too eager, too familiar, your value drops. This is not cynicism. It's human nature. Even kings understood this law. They appeared rarely. They spoke little. Because mystery creates gravity. And gravity pulls respect. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was teaching detachment. When love fades, fear sustains discipline. So learn to step back. Let silence do the talking. Let others feel your absence. Because distance sharpens desire. Affirmation. I don't chase validation. I create distance and respect follows. Lesson 3. Master the art of selective coldness. Being cold doesn't mean you lack emotion. It means you control when, how, and to whom you show it. Greene wrote in the 48 Laws of Power, "Despise the free lunch." In other words, never give your warmth, your time, or your energy freely. Make others earn it. Because your attention is currency. Your emotions are leverage. If you give them to everyone, you owe yourself nothing. The powerful use selective coldness as a mirror to make others confront their own insecurity, their own need for approval. And in that silence, they project strength. The message is simple. I don't need to be liked. I only need to be respected. Coldness doesn't push people away. It filters out the weak. Affirmation. My warmth is earned, never assumed. Lesson 4. Control perception, not reality. The world doesn't care what's true. Cares what seems true. Machiavelli warned that appearances rule politics and human behavior. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. So stop explaining your intentions. Stop trying to convince people of your goodness. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Because perception is the armor of power." Think of powerful leaders. Stoic, calm, unreadable. They project certainty even in chaos. They control the narrative by controlling their expression. Every raised eyebrow, every pause, every silence, a calculated act of dominance. And while others panic to prove themselves, you remain still, the eye in the storm. Affirmation. I control how the world sees me. My silence builds my image. Lesson 5. Never explain, never justify. Explaining is a reflex of the weak. It's the ego begging to be understood. But the strong? They understand that explanation diminishes mystery, and mystery breeds power. Carl Jung once said, "The stronger the man, the more he is alone." The powerful don't need consensus. They don't defend their choices. They embody them. When people question your decisions, don't argue. Look at them. Say nothing. Let the weight of your conviction speak louder than your words. Because every time you explain, you tell the world you fear being misunderstood. And the world feeds on fear. Affirmation. I don't explain myself. I move with certainty. Power isn't about domination. It's about emotional independence. It's about being able to walk through betrayal, chaos, and disrespect, and still move like nothing touched you. That is the cold strategy Machiavelli spoke of. The kind of control that makes you unpredictable, untouchable, and ultimately respected and feared. But we're not done. Because true psychological dominance isn't just silence or distance. It's the way you use human nature against itself. In the next lessons, we'll go deeper into manipulation, loyalty, and power dynamics that shape how the world really works. Lesson 6. Turn detachment into power. Emotional detachment is not apathy, it's mastery. It's the ability to walk away from anything that tries to own your peace. People who can't detach are slaves to their attachments. They stay in toxic relationships, tolerate disrespect, and defend people who would never defend them. Because their emotions are chained to approval. Machiavelli would say, "A man who becomes dependent on others' goodwill is lost." True power begins when you can feel deeply, but act coldly. It's when you stop reacting to betrayal with rage, and start responding with silence. When you stop trying to prove your worth, and let your absence become the punishment. Detachment isn't giving up. It's taking back control. Affirmation. I am calm in chaos. I can walk away from anything that insults my peace. Lesson 7. Never show all your cards. In chess, the master wins not by having more moves, but by hiding his intentions. Every gesture, every delay, every silence, a disguise. Machiavelli warned that transparency is dangerous. When people know your motives, they can manipulate them. The modern mind is addicted to overexposure, posting every thought, every emotion, every struggle. But when everyone can read you, no one fears you. Power lives in mystery, in uncertainty, in the quiet confidence that says, I know more than I show. The cold strategist never reveals his final move. He smiles while planning the unseen. Affirmation. My mystery is my shield. My silence is my signal of control. Lesson 8. Make people dependent on your calm. When chaos erupts, most people panic. They argue, accuse, and react emotionally. You become still. Because the one who stays calm while everyone else collapses becomes the anchor, the leader, the one people turn to when the storm hits. This is one of Machiavelli's most subtle forms of power. Create dependency through emotional contrast. Be the only one who doesn't lose control. Soon, even your enemies will seek your steadiness. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled through constant turmoil. While others drowned in rage and fear, he wrote calmly in his journal, "If it is endurable, then endure it." That's the mindset that turns power from temporary to eternal. Affirmation. My calm is contagious. My composure commands loyalty. Lesson 9. Punish disrespect quietly, not publicly. Weak men explode when disrespected. The powerful remember, and wait. Machiavelli taught, injuries must be done all at once, so they cannot be avenged. In other words, never react to disrespect immediately. Observe. Collect information. Strike once. Revenge isn't about emotion. It's about timing. When you act too soon, your enemy learns. When you act too late, they forget. But when you act exactly when they feel safe, you reshape their entire perception of you. Coldness means you don't fight with words. You fight with results. Affirmation. I never react. I remember, I plan, and I act when it matters. Lesson 10. Withdraw to increase power. Power isn't just built by doing more. It's strengthened by doing less. The greatest kings and generals knew when to retreat, not out of weakness but calculation. Machiavelli observed this law through history's finest tacticians. When overwhelmed, they would disappear. Withdraw from the noise. Let their absence breed speculation and fear. When you step back, the world adjusts around your silence. People start to question, did I lose them? Did I go too far? Are they planning something? And that psychological tension is worth more than any argument you could ever win. Remember, retreat is not surrender. It's the art of making your presence felt through your absence. Affirmation: my silence speaks louder than confrontation. My absence creates gravity. Lesson 11: respect is earned through self-containment. There's a reason powerful people seem almost untouchable. It's not their wealth or fame. It's their containment. They don't leak energy. They don't tell everyone their dreams, their plans, or their emotions. They guard their inner world like a fortress. Carl Jung described this as the integration of the shadow, embracing the darker, more disciplined side of your nature. When you own that darkness, no one can weaponize it against you. Containment is the essence of respect, because the moment people sense you need them, you've already lost power. So hold your energy close. Let people wonder what fuels you. The fewer words you speak, the louder your presence becomes. Affirmation: I am whole within myself. My energy is sacred, and I guard it fiercely. Each of these lessons forms a single thread, woven together into Machiavelli's cold strategy. Power through composure, authority through mystery, control through restraint. Most people chase power through force. But real power, timeless, silent, psychological power, isn't loud, still. You don't dominate by shouting. You dominate by being the one who doesn't flinch. And when you reach that level of control, people will respect you. They will fear you. And secretly, they will want to become you. Lesson 12: use cold empathy, not sympathy. There's a difference between understanding people and absorbing their pain. Cold empathy is power. It's the ability to read emotions without becoming trapped by them. Sympathy drains you. It makes you take on other people's chaos as your own. But cold empathy? It lets you observe from a distance. You understand the pain, yet you stay centered. Machiavelli would call this studying men as they are, not as we wish them to be. He understood that people are driven by self-interest, fear, and vanity. If you can see those motives clearly, without emotional fog, you can predict anyone's behavior. When you feel nothing, you see everything. Cold empathy isn't cruelty. It's clarity. And clarity gives you control. Affirmation: I understand emotions, but I don't drown in them. I read people like open books. Lesson 13: win by doing less than expected. Power doesn't always come from domination. Sometimes it comes from restraint. People expect reactions, long speeches, and desperate explanations. When you give them nothing, they project everything. You confuse them. You frustrate them. You make them wonder what you know that they don't. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." That's restraint. That's the art of doing less while achieving more. In a world addicted to overexposure, mystery becomes magnetic. The less you do, the more power your actions carry when you finally decide to move. Restraint is not weakness. It's invisible dominance. Affirmation: my silence confuses the weak and captivates the strong. Lesson 14: use rejection as your weapon. Rejection breaks most people. They take it personally, as proof they're not enough. But the Machiavellian mind understands rejection is a mirror. It reveals not your weakness, but the other person's perception. Every no you face in life is feedback from the world, telling you where your energy isn't valued. So you pull back, recalculate, redirect, and suddenly what felt like failure becomes strategy. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis." Rejection is a crisis, but it's also a filter, removing people, places, and pursuits that were never aligned with your rise. The cold strategist never begs for acceptance. He uses rejection as fuel to sharpen his edge. Affirmation: rejection refines me. Every no clears the path for my power. Lesson 15: build a reputation that speaks in your absence. The ultimate level of power is when your name alone commands reaction. When your silence creates more impact than another man's speech. When people adjust their behavior just because you entered the room. That's not luck. That's reputation capital. Machiavelli taught that rulers must cultivate reputation as carefully as they cultivate armies. Because a strong reputation wins battles before they begin. How do you build it? By consistency. By restraint. By being the one who always stays composed, always follows through, and never lowers themselves to petty conflict. You don't need to prove who you are when your reputation already does it for you. Affirmation. My name carries weight. My presence shapes the atmosphere. Machiavelli's last secret. The world tests you daily, not with violence, but with provocation. It wants to see if you'll break your composure, if you'll trade your discipline for reaction. That's why the cold strategy is so rare. It requires something most people never develop: emotional sovereignty. When you become sovereign over yourself, no one can bait you into chaos. No insult can pierce your calm. No betrayal can destroy your vision. And that's when the world begins to bend. Not because you forced it, but because your control became gravity. Machiavelli understood that the ruler who governs himself will eventually govern others. Be calm. Be cold. Be deliberate. You don't need to raise your voice to command the room. You only need to master your own reflection. Because once you do, respect will follow, and fear will never leave. Summary: the 10 commandments of the cold strategist. 1. Never let emotion speak first. 2. Create respect through distance. 3. Use selective coldness as a filter. 4. Control perception, not reality. 5. Never explain or justify. 6. Detach to regain power. 7. Hide your intentions. 8. Make others depend on your calm. 9. Punish quietly, not publicly. 10. Guard your energy and build your reputation. These are not tricks, they are transformations. They don't make you heartless. They make you whole. Because when you master yourself, you no longer need to chase respect. You become it. That is Machiavelli's warning. Be cold enough to stay in control. Be calm enough to remain unbroken. And one day, you won't just be respected or feared. You'll be remembered.